In today's video, I want to talk about the SQL Group By clause. So the Group By clause is a aggregate or roll-up type construct of SQL that is used to look at data at kind of a higher level. So you're not talking about looking at data at the granular row level. We're trying to take a bunch of rows and combine them together and make some sort of sense or analysis out of it. And this is what you usually hear people talk about when they're talking about looking at things by things like, oh, I want to look at sales by department, or sales by product, or sales by year, or sales by salesman. So these are different perspectives, or sometimes they call them dimensions that you're looking at the data from. So the first thing we want to do is just understand the structure and how it relates inside an SQL statement. And what happens is you're going to put your group by after the where clause. You're going to have your select statement. So you're going to select the columns. You're going to have your from, which is going to be the table. You're going to have your where, which is going to be the conditions that you want to filter your data by. And then you're going to put the group by after that. And now what you want to do is you're going to have specific columns that you are looking at and you're going to roll up based on them. And so you have to have a group by construct that tells SQL exactly which columns you're going to use to do your roll-ups on. And then the other columns that you're going to be selecting are going to be functions, or what they call aggregate functions. So what are aggregate functions? Aggregate functions, examples of them would be like sum, where you add up all the values for a numerical value, or an average, or a count, or a max, or a min. And you can even do things like standard deviations of those columns. So again, what we're doing is we're taking data and we're rolling it up or combining it and trying to make sense of it at a higher level. And then the other thing you can do on top of it, of course, we already talked about the where, but there's a special clause that comes after the group by, and it's called having. And what having allows you to do is filter after you've rolled up. So let's say, for example, that you want to look at your data, but you don't really want to look at the entries that have a sum that's less than, let's say, $10 or something like that. And you just want to disregard those outliers because they're not part of the analysis you're trying to do. So let's just look at a quick example here. So we have a table structure, very simple. It includes a product, which is a string, a category, which is a string, and then a sales amount, which is a number or a monetary value. And what we want to do is we want to take those sales, we want to roll them up, in this case, by category. And so what we will say is select category, which is the grouping that we're going to do. And then we're going to say our aggregate function, in this case, we're going to sum up the sales from the sales table. And then we're going to say group by, and then what we're aggregating on, which is category. And so an example of what this might look like, and let's say these are different categories that are being laid out here in this graph. And so we're summing up by the various categories. And then these sum values are the ones in the bars. So that's how you're seeing the data at a more rolled up level. So you might have thousands and thousands of rows in the sales table, but maybe you've only got a few categories you want to look at them at. And so that would roll everything up in just those categories that you're looking at. And so that's what the SQL Group By does for you. It allows you to take data and roll it up at a more higher level for analysis. Some common pitfalls, really the main pitfall is if you start including columns that are not part of the aggregate. So you start including in your select statement, you start adding columns that aren't even part of the grouping. And that's going to, in some cases, it'll just give you an outright error. Or even worse, it'll give you a result, but it won't make any sense because SQL won't know what to do with those columns that are added onto the group by it. It will confuse it and make the results inaccurate. And that'll do it for today's video. I'm glad you guys tuned in. I hope you got something out of it. Please like the video, comment, share, and consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, send me your SQL questions below. Talk to you later. Bye.